busy and productive are not the same thing.
Oh my gosh, I never stopped moving all day. Like it was go, go, go all day, but I don't really know what I did.
Welcome back to 9 to 5 Mom with a Pod. I am your host, Fran, and today we have an amazing guest. Her name is Leah Remillet, and she's an international speaker, podcast host, and a systems strategist for time-starved entrepreneurs and professionals.
I am all about like systems, automations, workflows, right? Like that's how we consistently create incredible results over and over. The confidence it gives me to know that I can take care of myself, that I can take care of my kids, that I can take care of our family. When there's things that my kids want, opportunities that are there, we can grab them.
Today's episode is going to be exciting, and it's all about how I know this is one of your favorite episodes from your own podcast. Remind me that your favorite episode is that busy and productive are not the same thing.
Yes, exactly. So busy and productive, they get confused a lot, right? And they're not the same thing. And we go around saying how busy we are, and very often we're not seeing results. And that's because busy is often something that we fill our lives with because it makes us feel accomplished. It makes us feel good. It's kind of this little pat on the back feeling. We get the dopamine of like, oh, I've got all these things. A lot of times we associate busyness with being valuable, right? Like
Right.
the busier someone is, the more valuable they must be. If I'm not busy, if nobody needs me, I must not have value, which is completely wrong. But we believe that. And so we can get stuck in this cycle of busyness, whether it's a form of avoidance or it's a form of self value or self worth or whatever it might be, and we're missing those things that actually move the needle. So everyone can relate to that feeling of like, oh my gosh, I never stopped moving all day. Like it was go, go, go all day, but I don't really know what I did, right? I don't even know what happened.
That's true.
Right? So that could be a case of we're getting stuck in busy instead of productive. And when we make that shift, all of a sudden there's all this time that opens up and we're more purposeful, we're more profitable, we're more present. And like all these things can change just by making the shift from going from busy to productive.
I agree. And it's crazy because a lot of people tell me, "Oh my gosh, I am pretty busy all like most of the time, but like that's part of my productivity." I try not to like for instance, I'm not on my phone anymore. Like I would squash time on my phone before I started my podcast. Like I would just scroll for no reason. Now that time is used for, let's say, preparing, let's say for my season 2, or designing what my new studio is going to look like, or particularly creating a workflow of how my steps are going to be from interviewing a guest to, post editing. So those are the things that kind of keep me productive.
Well, first of all, I have to say, you mentioned workflow. That made my heart happy because I am all about like systems, automations, workflows, right? Like that's how we consistently create incredible results over and over. When we're sitting down and we're trying to make it up again and again and again, that's where inconsistency comes from, right? So
Correct.
I love that you said workflow because I was like, yes, that is so good. So there's one part.
Yeah.
But then in addition, it's like, yeah, we look at these things. I know for me, I wanted to start my podcast years before I actually did it. Years. And it's like, oh, why did I wait so long? But it felt intimidating. It felt daunting. It felt like it was going to be a big time commitment. And was I going to be able to keep with it? I don't, the stat is like what
Right.
a lot of podcasts, they get like, I can't remember what the number is, 8 to 12 episodes, and then that's it. There's never any more after that. And I was
Right.
like, I don't want that to be me. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, right? So I needed to be able to really come up with and think through like the system and
Right.
how I was going to manage it in a way where it wasn't going to take over my life and all those things. And then in addition to that, I'll be honest, I was totally scared of the tech part. Like for some reason, the idea of getting it on Apple sounded so intimidating. So I
Hitting that
totally
post button, like constantly hitting the post button and be like, "Oh, that thing is out."
Yes. Oh, it's so funny. So I decided to do my podcast for I did 40 before 40. So I was turning 40 years old. And I was
Okay.
like, okay, I came up with this list of 40 things I was going to do before I was 40. And number one was my podcast.
That's good.
So I was doing all the things, I was sharing them on my social media, and everybody's like really into it. They want to see everything I'm doing, right? So I've been sharing all these things. And at the beginning, I was like sharing like progress I was making on the podcast, meaning like, I was working on thinking about it and starting it and planning it. But I was getting closer and closer and closer to my birthday. And I was like, oh,
Oh,
shoot. Cause like I had like procrastinated the tech part because it felt so intimidating. So finally, I think 3 days before my birthday, I was like, okay, that's it. I am like locking myself in my office tonight. And so help me, I'm going to do whatever I can to try to get it as close to, out there as possible. And I didn't think, I'm like, again, I was so intimidated. I thought it was going to take forever. And it was done that night. Like I even went to bed at like a pretty normal time and was like, seriously, all of that. And there it was on Apple. Like, there's the trailer. It's there. And I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I wasted so much time and we do that all the time, right? That is such a common thing where the idea of something is actually scarier than than the something is,
right.
and we hold ourselves back and we hold ourselves back. I mean, how many people have thought about a podcast and they're like, oh, right? And
Yes.
often the idea is actually scarier than the doing.
I agree. And the craziest thing is that it is a lot of work. I will give you that. It's a lot of work because it's consistency. So if you have an
Yeah.
issue being consistent, it's going to be very daunting. But if you enjoy it, which is where I was because I didn't have it on the list like you, which is amazing. I would love to have it as part of my list. But I didn't. It was an accident. I came across from it. I wanted to try something different, coming from corporate world, legal, paralegal, all of that. And then when I got into it and I jumped into it, I was scared of the camera. I was scared of speaking because we are in an era where we were, and especially that time, it was the basically the height of COVID. And or was it like right after? Because I had just moved to Jersey. I think my daughter, no, it was right after COVID. I'm sorry. It was about 2 years after like COVID started kind of like coming down a little bit. But what I'm trying to say is that there was cancel culture. So actually speaking your mind and actually saying the things that you want to say seemed a little scary, considering that I'm the type of person that I'm very private and I like don't want to ruffle any feathers or become viral in any single way. So the idea of starting a podcast was um it was actually it was surprising, it was phenomenal, it was a great experience. But again, I was very consistent with it. In the beginning, like you said, technology, scary because you're like, oh my goodness, there's editing involved, there's thumbnails involved, and there's the aspect of like, what if you don't like what you say? I stopped doing that where I'm like, I'm just gonna post the episodes with reasonable amount of editing, obviously, so that way it's professionally done. But when I do my final cuts, when the editor gives me my final cuts, I rarely take anything out. It's very rare that I'm like, oh yeah, just take that out. Like it's very rare. So anyway, didn't want to get sidetracked, but yes, consistency is key and workflow. I'm obsessed because that's actually what keeps me going. Like I like steps. I like goals every week. I want to know what I'm doing. And even if it's a small win, I'll take it.
Absolutely. Workflows are the key, and I think we can take it to any area of our lives, right? Like, and essentially, let's break down a workflow really quick. So, a workflow really just means a checklist.
Right.
Like, that is what a workflow is. A workflow is a checklist. So, for anyone who's like, great, how do I make a workflow? You make a checklist. That's what you do. So, it's
Exactly.
just these steps that you're going to take every single time so that you can create the absolute best result.
Yes.
And this is something where I get super excited because I'm all about, so like within my own business, I'm about a full time income, and I mean a very full time income on part time hours. I am a mom. I am a wife. I volunteer. I want to have a life. I want to take care of all my other responsibilities. And I love having my business. Like, I love it. I have had it since 2009. Like, this is my love. I love entrepreneurship. But in order to be able to do all the things, so I like to say we can be all the things, but we cannot do all the things.
Mm,
And when you make that distinction, too many people are trying to do all the things, and it's just not going to work. We have to decide who we want to be, get
right.
very, very clear on that and very intentional. And then we start going through and figuring out, well, how do I show up? What are the most important things? So, when we're talking about the podcast, I absolutely come up with the ideas for the podcast. I record the episodes, but it gets pretty much handed off after that, right? Like I have a team who does all the production and does the social media and gets it out onto like our marketing platforms and pushes it out to get more traction. Like
Right.
those things are all being done from someone else. And the way that I can ensure that we're going to
Mhm.
get the exact same results every time, that we're going to build out this great experience, is by having that workflow, right? That system. We have all these automations and workflows and systems, and we kind of put it all together. And then that way it's like anyone on the team can come, they can look at that workflow or checklist and be like, boom, 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 boom. Okay, I've done all the things. We know this is packaged properly. It looks great, and off it goes.
Correct. And that's one of the podcast fundamentals, that eventually you're going to have to, in order for you to be able to grow, you're going to have to probably put it up front where you're going to need someone to help you. You're going to need an editor, you're going to need or a coach, or you're going to need a marketing person who's going to help you push your episodes. Mainly, and especially if you want to do this full time, because you as a talent, right? You're the talent, you're coming up with all the topics, you're coming up with all the ideas, and then you're recording it. You need the space and time to not be able to have to focus on social media marketing at the moment. Yes, you know about it. Yes, you learn about it, and you're in the loop of what's going on, but you just don't have that time. So yes, definitely passing on the work eventually in your podcasting career is definitely like one of the goals. But in podcast fundamentals, like if you're starting in the beginning, you're probably going to be your own janitor. You're going to be the manager. You're going to be the editor. You're going to be the thumbnail person. You're going to be the marketing person, which is why you need to get what you said, the workflow into place. And once you get your workflow into place, then you start implementing other people, which is why I love what you just said. It's amazing.
It's so true. It's we all come down to, we either have more of one or the other. We
Yeah.
either have more time or we have more money. That's where everybody's at.
I love
Okay.
it. I
So
love it.
so I mean that's the reality, right? So
Yes.
if you have more time than you have money, and sometimes people are like, I don't have either. Well, unfortunately, if you don't have either, you're gonna have to carve out the time probably,
Yeah.
right? Unless you really do have some money somewhere that you're forgetting about.
Right.
So, when we start anything, we either have more time or more money. So there are those who say, okay, well, I don't have the money yet, but I can figure out how to make the time. So then, yeah, they're going to be probably figuring out and doing a lot of these things themselves with the hope and the intention to then outsource as soon as they're able to. And I like to have some sort of metric where I can see, like, once I hit this, now,
Right.
obviously, if we're talking about outsourcing, then there's probably a monetary metric, right?
Right.
Once I can get the podcast making this much money, I get to outsource. And essentially, you're probably going to just really be reinvesting everything you've made on the podcast now into somebody being able to do the production for you. But what's beautiful is you then choose to take that time, however
Mhm.
much that used to take you. So let's say, so for the person listening, I've never edited my own podcast. I don't know how long they take, but an hour? I don't know. I don't know how long it takes
It
to
depends on what kind of
edit an
editing you
episode.
wanna do. So if you're just thinking doing audio editing, most likely most of that might not it might take you about, I would say 2 hours roughly if you're like
Okay.
if you're a beginner. It will probably take you a little bit of time. But,
Right, because you're always gonna be slower first, right?
yes,
Like as you're getting better. Okay. Okay, so maybe 2 hours, then maybe you get it
I
down
would
to an
say
hour
2. Yeah.
less, maybe? I'm not sure.
If you're I mean, depending on also the length of your podcast,
True.
if you're also having like a 2-hour discussion with someone, which I've seen, like it's like a Joe Rogan style
I was
2-hour
gonna say, I mean, all those
podcast,
shows that get
then
Joe
you're
Rogan,
gonna be there you're
multi-hours.
probably gonna be there all day. You better start taking that caffeine.
So, okay, so let's say it's 1 to 2 hours. Once you are able to hit that income where you're like, amazing, I can hire someone and I can delegate that out. then my suggestion would be to take that time, or at least 70% of that time, and invest it only into income producing work. So
Right.
however you're making money for, your podcast, then take that time and invest it into increasing that income so that you can scale, right? So that's the
Right.
beauty of, and I know you, Fran, for sure know this, but right, but like that's the beauty
It is.
of, like we might start with more time, but it doesn't mean it has to stay that way, right? Like
Correct.
we shift. We go from I have more time, more money. When I first started my business, I had way more time and I didn't have time, but I
Mm,
definitely did
did not
not
have
have
money.
money. Right? Like my husband was in graduate school. We had 3 young babies,
Right.
right? So time was the thing that I did not have, but at least had more of. So I learned how to do everything. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs completely relate to that, right? Like I was building my website, I was coding, I was building opt ins, I was figuring out how to do brand design. And you know what? I have to say, even if I don't have to do any of that anymore, I am so grateful I know how to do all these things. Like what
Yes.
that has given me and the opportunities it has presented because it's it's like being more well-rounded, right?
Right.
Like I
Yeah.
understand and I know all these different areas of business because I couldn't afford to get anybody else to do it. Like I had to be like, okay, YouTube, you and me tonight, we're figuring this out. And so this idea of, having to start with, okay, I have more time than I have money, it really actually can be a huge gift
It is.
if we can harness that and remember that.
Yeah, you can't there's no way that you cannot, like, let's say it was the other way around, you won't learn. And then you
100%.
and then you won't have, and then if you reach, let's say, like, if you reach a hurdle, if you reach basically a bump, right, a speed bump across the road, you're gonna be like, I don't know how to fix this. One of the conversations that I had in the beginning with my husband when we were setting things up, just him and I, and we were setting the studio together. One of the things that he's like, oh, don't worry about it, I'll set it up for you. And I said, no, I actually need to know how to do this, because what one day you won't be here, which is what happened. He ended up going to New York to see my mother-in-law, and literally I was like, I know that I have to turn on this light right here, and it was at 20% on the left, 20% on the right. And then I also have to turn on my Mixcast, and then I also have to turn on the camera, and they have to connect to the computer. Like, knowing all of those things, it's a learning lesson. Yes, it takes time, but trust me, you're going to love every single moment of it. And whenever like a mom comes up to me and is like, I I swear that one of the things that I hate the most is that a mom comes up to me and says, "But I'm not interesting enough to be on a podcast." I'm like, "Stop. Just stop for a second." That is literally the worst thing I've ever heard, because I've seen all these moms that have all these capabilities and they're great. And just imagine what you could be doing if you start a podcast. If you can actually get your voice out there, like your own voice. Because we all have different things, We all teach different things. Like I teach and I coach for podcasting in particular. And I also talk to mom content creators, things like that. We all have our own genres and our own niche. And I feel like it breaks my heart to hear all these moms, that I talk to. And they're like, oh, but I don't want to do it because either I'm too scared or I don't think I'm interesting enough. And I'm like, I don't know who put that in your head, but I want to change it.
There's all different formats of
I want to,
podcasting, right?
yeah,
So
exactly.
there's the idea of maybe you are a phenomenal listener, which
Yes.
means that you're probably going to be great at interviews. You're just good at asking great questions that are thoughtful and insightful and bring out the best in a guest, right? So that is its own gift. Or maybe it's that you happen to know a lot about something that to you comes very, very easy, but that doesn't mean that it comes easy to everybody else. In fact, probably a lot of people don't find that it comes easy. And I really believe, especially, at this time in our history, we need strong female voices who can help us to recognize what matters
Yeah.
most, right? So there's so much distraction out there. There is so much that takes us away from what I believe
Yeah.
is our core mission, is like what makes us as women divine and incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And we can spread our voices and help bring awareness to all kinds of things, whether it's perimenopause or knitting or, anything in between, right? Like there are
Exactly.
people who are curious and they want to know and understand some topic. And it might just so happen that you are gifted at that topic. So I was playing pickleball this morning. I have a group of women. We all play pickleball.
Oh, stop.
Oh, I
Stop. I love
know.
it.
It's like the current thing.
The
So
thing.
yes, there's this group of women. We have so much fun. We play pickleball once a week. So I'm playing pickleball, and someone said something about cinnamon rolls, and someone else goes, "Oh my gosh, Melinda, you are the best at cinnamon rolls." And they were like, "But you learned, like, that was what you did over COVID. You, like, perfected the cinnamon roll. Like, it wasn't, it was through work." And she's like, yeah, that, like, kept me busy, kept working on my cinnamon rolls." And I was thinking, like, "Oh my gosh, note to self, tell Melinda I want her to teach me how to make cinnamon rolls," right? Like, I have a client who she had learned to knit from her grandmother, and then that's
Wow.
why I brought up knitting, and then, forgot about it for years and years because
Right.
she had a business and she was, in the throes of motherhood and all the things, and she picked it back up recently because she was like, "Man, I need rest. I need something to enjoy that's not scrolling on my phone." So she decided to pick up these knitting needles, and it just brought her so much joy. And then she was like, "I want to share this
That's so
with other
sweet.
women who are creative minded and they want to do something with their hands." And she has a podcast that she started about knitting. So I am telling you, like, there is a niche that is out there for everyone that can just be exactly what somebody needs. And yes, when we start podcasts, we want to think about, you know, getting tons and tons of people to hear it, right? Like that's the goal. It's very exciting. Like I was thrilled when I made top 100, and when you get these different charts and these different things. And that is amazing. But I think sometimes we we get a little bit too entrenched and entranced, I would say, actually, by the numbers.
Yes.
And that can go wrong in two ways. Either one, your numbers aren't, they're really small at the beginning. And honestly, they are going to be. Okay. That's just
That's
how it
natural.
works. And so, you get discouraged and you give up too soon, or you get so stuck on the numbers that you lose the joy. So when I decided to start the podcast, I told my producer, I was like, "Okay, I am not going to look at the numbers for 1 year. Like, I'm not going to ever check. I'm committed. I'm doing this. I am going to every single week there will be an episode, and I don't want to get in my own head.
Mm.
And so I'm not going to look." And I stuck to that. I absolutely stuck to it. I did not look. In fact, I think maybe like 8 or 9 months in, I spoke at a conference, I'm flying home, I'm on the plane, and a text message pops up, and it's my podcast producer, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, you just made top 100 for business," or something like that, right? And it was so exciting, but it was like, I had no idea that was coming, no idea, because
Right. You
I
weren't
had never
expecting it.
ever looked at my numbers. And I'm
Wow.
so glad, because honestly, there's other times where, you're like, "Huh, wow, that did not land." Like nobody saw that one. And so I'll say, just for me, that was a way that I love to ask myself, "Okay, how am I going to get in my own way? What am I going to do to sabotage?" And I knew I could get in my own way if the numbers were pretty late.
Right.
And then I'd feel like, "Oh my gosh, am I just wasting my time? Why am I even doing this?" But I also knew, like, I love talking. Okay. I just love it. I'm the
Don't
oldest
worry
of the
about
old.
it.
Like, I love to speak. And so I mean, it's literally what I do. I get to tell people what to do, for a
Yeah.
living. I'm just my big sister role forever. And so I knew why I wanted to podcast. I knew what I wanted to share. Like, I am so passionate about helping women entrepreneurs who have a dream on their heart, and that was not by accident. Like, they are meant to share whatever was placed on their heart, but not at the expense of their home or their
Correct.
health or their happiness. And I made that mistake in the beginning. I didn't know how to do it right, and I did it completely wrong. Like, so incredibly wrong that I ended up in an ambulance, kind of wrong. That's how
Mhm.
bad I did it. And so as I made this decision, like, okay, if work life balance exists, I have to figure it out
Oh
or
my
I am walking
gosh.
away from my company. Like I will walk, and I was our sole breadwinner. So when I say walk away, I'm like, who's going to pay the mortgage then?
Right.
Like,
Like,
I mean, it was all on me at that point, but I couldn't do it. There was no way that success in my business was going to be worth failing at home. No way. And so, we each have that thing that's placed on our hearts, and I believe it's there for a purpose and that it's meant to be shared, but we have to figure out how to do it in a way that is not going to burn us out, spit us out, or that's going to destroy the most important relationships in our lives. And so that's where, we think about all these things like what's my system going to be? How can I outsource? How can I use my time wisely? And how can I make sure I'm doing the right things at the right time in the
correct.
right places?
For me, work life balance is doing it your way. A lot of people can talk to you about how their experiences are, right? Like you're just telling us your experience, and I talk about my experience on the podcast all the time. And again, I always encourage, you don't have to listen to me. My way may not be the way that it works for you. But what I'm trying to encourage is that you do listen to me in the sense of like, oh, maybe I should find a system that works. So the way that I learn is that whenever I'm researching or doing something in particular for my business, I get little nuggets from different people. And that's how I learn because not a particular style, there's no particular formula of doing this. The formula is that you stay consistent at it, meaning that you don't give up. And going back to the numbers and not looking at the numbers for a year, which I love. I love. I love. It's something that I actually practiced because in the beginning, the first thing that I told myself is that I don't expect anything. I am ready to be broke for 2 years straight. Like I'm ready to commit to this all the way and be broke for 2 years and then see what happens from there. And when you have that type of commitment, that means that you don't have an expectation. Because when you limit yourself to an expectation, you're already failing because you're already saying, okay, I didn't hit that benchmark because you're technically not. This industry is not about hitting those particular benchmarks. And in talking about benchmarks, I was doing some research on in the beginning about podcast. I'm sorry, excuse me, about podcasting in general, like where Spotify and Apple come in, where Buzzsprout comes in, and you know how they give you the benchmarks of that Spotify and Apple don't give you about. Okay, well, if you have I don't know, 100 downloads in Buzzsprout, you're going to be in our top 25%. But you're not accounting for all the other podcasts that exist in the space of Apple and Spotify. This is just within the space of Buzzsprout. But in reading that article, I researched and researched, and I'm like, where is the benchmark for Apple and Spotify? But they don't have one. Because I think the goal is to encourage just don't look at the numbers. Just
Mhm.
actually start it because it is true what you said. I think in the first 8 episodes or something like that, I forgot what the number was, but it was literally on the first 3 episodes, there's a huge dropout. Like you'll see the chart where it says, oh, these are the people that started a podcast. And then literally 90% of the chart is the people that quit after the third episode because it wasn't what they expected, because they thought they were going to be a Joe Rogan, a Call Her Daddy. And instead, what you could have done is that you could have monetized it in a way that was in your niche.
Mhm.
Just saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so true. And I think we need to get creative in how we monetize, right? So
Yeah.
many people are thinking, "Oh, I want to get sponsors and everything." Okay, well, sponsors is a numbers game. That's
Yeah.
what that is. So the bigger your numbers, then the higher the probability of sponsorship. And it is very fascinating that podcasting is actually one of the hardest things to track. So it's fascinating because we live in this world where numbers are everything, right? Like,
Everything.
I mean, our look at a reel and how many views and comments is right there for everyone to
Right.
see. Where podcasting, it's much more hidden, it's much more hard to find. Like you got to be in it. You got to be willing to pay to really get the stats and the numbers and everything.
Yeah.
And So when you're thinking about monetizing, what you need to understand is that it's actually a lot more about your email list and your social media following that
Yes.
they're going to be sponsoring off of, right? So if you're not coming in with a huge email list or a huge social media following, then that's probably going to be a little bit slower coming to get those sponsorships. But there are other ways to monetize. One of the best ways is selling our own products and services off of our podcasts, right? Because now
Gotta say
you
it.
have this incredible listening ear. It's such an intimate experience. They're giving you so much time. Like anybody listening to this episode right now, you've already been listening to us for I don't know where we're at,
Where are
20 or
we?
30 minutes, right? Like
Probably.
in your ear. And that's like I don't take that lightly. That's such a privilege.
It is.
So when we think about like, you can really get closer to someone and build a relationship when you get to have that kind of time. We're not talking about a 30-second reel that you're trying to grab their attention, but they're going to swipe to the next one. Podcasts give us a lot more time to build our authority, which is so beautiful.
Correct.
And so that opportunity to then offer your services or your product right on your podcast, that is great. So, when I look at all my numbers, I'm not on social media anymore, but when I look at
Oh, bless your heart.
podcast, oh, it's amazing. It is amazing.
I know
So
that feeling.
oh, it is so glorious.
It was the
So when
opposite for me though, but anyway, that's another story for another time, I'll tell you.
oh, oh, so when I look at all the numbers, you know, podcasting in the grand scheme looks much smaller, right? Like if there's 40, 50,000 on my email list and hundreds of thousands coming in through Pinterest, the email is or sorry, the podcast is much smaller than both of those. However, the what I've seen as we're tracking is that the customer value when they do come through the
Right.
podcast is so much higher because I've been able to build this trust. So having
Right.
Balancing Busy podcast, right? Like I just get to give all these ideas of how to have more time and just make all the areas of your life feel better and more balanced
Right.
and especially as moms and it's so much fun. I love it. And then the amazing benefit is that people feel like they really know me and they're so much more ready to purchase, right? We're not going through all these touch points because this singular touch point had so much more impact.
That's absolutely true. That's the value. And, what you were saying before about time, that's also, I'm telling you, time is money. And maybe you're not asking
Yes.
for someone for money directly, but I am asking for your time. And I feel like people's time are more valuable if you think about it. I actually think people get more angry if you waste their time. Because, I mean, I've had those posts before. I actually made a mistake about a few months back in one of my YouTube videos where I had a guest and we did like an A and B type of scenario. And actually, my guess is the one that brought up the A and B scenario. And the way that I had edited, or not myself, but the editor, the way that the editor did it was that it ended in like a cliffhanger, like, oh, she's talked about A, she talked about B, but she didn't give the answer. And literally I got comments out of that saying, this is why I hate, videos like this, because like they just give me the answer. And in my head, I'm like, okay, so we live in a society that also you're being sold this, and I talk about this a lot, this guide of like, oh, these are the 5 steps that you're going to be a super millionaire or you're going to be super successful, without actually having to know that, there's more to those steps, which is called hard work, consistency, which we've been talking about throughout this whole episode, that actually goes into the value of whatever your product is. But do you remember, do you know the billionaire? He's from Shark Tank, and I'm terrible with names. He's like the tech Shark Tank guy. Do you remember his name? If not, I'll Google it.
I do not.
Crap, I am so bad with names. One second, I'm gonna tell you right now. And you know what he said on YouTube? Um, he started actually recently doing the life of a billionaire type vlog on YouTube. So I started watching and it's actually pretty interesting. And one of the things that he said was like, what's the secret to a successful business? And he's like, do you really want to know? You have to sell something.
Amen. So I really, this is something I think gets missed, especially among women,
Yes.
which is we get very stuck in thinking about, I want to serve, 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 which is great. That is beautiful. Yes, serve. But if you are not making money, you have an expensive hobby. Okay, that's what this is.
Right.
So we have to be making money in order to be a business owner. And to take that a step further,
Correct.
there is a lot of confusion of what the goal is in businesses,
Yes.
right? My goal is to make an impact. My goal is to reach and help these people. That's actually not your goal. That is one of the touch points, which is beautiful. And I love that. Like, I
Right.
am all about high touch experience, over delivering, all of that. Like, that is critical in my business model, but that is not my goal. My goal is profitability. All of our goals must be money. And if that feels scary, if that feels uncomfortable,
Say it
then
out
dig
loud.
down and unpack that and figure out where that's coming from. What stories are there that are making that feel hard and yucky? Because if you are a business owner, if you are, or if you are paying money to create something, okay, then now we're in the realm of entrepreneurship, of
Correct.
business, even if it's singularly a podcast, the goal must be profit.
You
It
have to make
has to be
something.
profit.
You have to sell something. And by the way, his
Yes.
name is Robert. Oh my gosh. And I might be,
Oh
but
yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm,
I can see his face.
ah, yeah, I just don't know how to say his last name. I don't know how to spell it. Her. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I'm not going to say it because I'm going to feel so bad. But yeah, Robert, he's the one that always sits in just put Robert Shark Tank.
I'm totally putting it in right now.
Yeah. And he's on
I
YouTube
don't know.
right now.
I don't know how.
Persia. That's perfect.
Sorry, Robert. If you
It's
come to hear this one
sorry.
day and you're like, "How dare you?"
Sorry if I
So sorry.
butchered it, but that's his name.
Sure, but yes, I totally. I knew his face as soon as you said Robert. I'm like, oh, I know which one it is. Yeah.
He started a YouTube channel and he did this amazing day of the life of a billionaire. And he just talked about, it was him going to conferences, him going to speaking, him working out, the whole thing. But it was so interesting because at the end he had like a little bit of he had like a few Q&A situation, and one of the things that was like, oh, the frequently asked questions is, how do I make money or something like that, or in my business. And then he's like, there's no secret, you have to sell something, like anything, but you got to sell
Yeah.
it, and you got to
Yeah.
call, you got to pick up the phone. And literally and I don't want to keep you for too long for this, but I do want to emphasize, you have to go out there and hustle. You have to
Yes.
make calls. You have to get on the phone with leads. And you actually, how back in the day you would go knock door to door? That's basically what you have to do today. Not literally. We have social media and we have other marketing strategies that you guys can put in place, but you actually have to continuously be on top of leads and you have to sell something. So if podcast is the heart of your, let's say, of your passion, right? You want to be podcasting. The podcast can be used in the center of your business for you to, relay that message that you want to relay. But behind that, you have to make money. You're giving free value, right? Free resources, like right here, like all of my guests, this is free. You get all of these guests' perspective, you get freebies, you get all this value, but also at the heart of the business, you have to have profitability.
Yes.
Right?
Amen. Amen. And what is so beautiful to me, like just for anybody who's feeling really uncomfortable as we keep being like money, money, money,
Money, money.
stop saying it. It's a dirty word, right? For anyone who feels that way, it really is powerful to um, figure out where that's coming from, what
Mhm.
stories we grew up with. Sometimes we're told that people with money are slimy or they're dishonest, or oh, Uncle blah blah had all that money and he didn't help anybody, so we think they're stingy or
Right.
whatever it is. So we need to undo those stories, right? And I would suggest two things. Um, One, we have some really cool episodes about this on Balancing Busy. So anyone could go
Oh,
to
nice.
Balancing Busy and then they could search money and literally see what comes up, money or wealth. But one of my favorite books I ever read that really helped me is called Happy Money by Ken Honda. Oh, I hope I'm right. I'm sure I am. And it
Happy
is
money.
the Japanese art of the way that they look at money and wealth.
Let's
And
see.
it's with all of this gratitude, which is so beautiful. And when I read that and incorporated that of just that money is a gift that I can do good things with, right? And then realizing that through profitability, through money, I can be even more generous, right? I
Correct?
can do more good. And that in and of itself, it's such a gift. So when I look at, the reason that I love making money, it's because two things. I love the confidence it gives me to know that I can take care of myself, that I can take care of my kids, that I can take care of our family, that
Mhm.
um when there's things that my kids want, opportunities that are there, we can grab them, right?
Yes.
And the second reason is that it allows me to be even more generous because I
Right?
don't have to have this fear of, oh my gosh, if I do this, will we be able to, eat or whatever it might be. And so when we have a why behind that money, right? Like, I want to be able to do this for my kids. I want to be able
Right.
to have this savings. I want to be able to do this kind of service. All of those things can help they can take away maybe some of the negativity that some of us and most of us, because none of us were taught money. We weren't taught money confidence. We weren't taught wealth
Not even.
management. None of us learned these things. So when someone feels, like, oh my gosh, I'm like the idiot who doesn't know, we all
Right.
are. Don't even worry about it. Every single one
I'm
of us
with you.
started that way, right? Like, we all had to untangle our money stories and learn how to make those shifts and learn how to be bold and brave and ask for the sale and tell people,
Right.
hey, I have a service, I can solve your problem, and make that shift to understanding that when we hold back, we're actually hurting other people. And that's its own very crazy thing. We could go into a whole thing about that,
Right.
but if you know that you can solve someone's problem and you are not telling them, that is very unkind. And so when we recognize that, it can make a shift for us and help us to get a lot more brave and bold and get ourselves out there and say, actually, yes, I am selling something and it's awesome. And here it is.
That's it. It's literally as simple as that, but there is a lot, again, we were all grown in a one size fits all system type of thing, and asking for money, at least I know from my parents, I come from a Hispanic household. So, asking for money was a big deal. Like no, we don't do that. So anyway, but yes, and it's called Happy Money, but yeah, it is by Ken Honda. I actually found it, and honestly, can't wait to read it because I'm all about I love reading. I love reading new books because I get little nuggets from those
Yes.
people, the perspectives, because we don't have to agree with every single thing that another person is telling us, but we can learn and adapt to things that, oh, you know what? That particular thing that he or she did, I could possibly apply that to my situation. That little thing that other person did, I can apply it to my situation. And then you create your own inspiration of what your business is going to be. But to basically wrap it all up for everyone here, the moral of this entire podcast, and we're trying to teach you to not be shy about saying that you want to be profitable. We're trying to teach you to be brave to say, so what? I want my business to make profit and I want to make that sale. So go out there and make that sale and do it. So, and that's
And I
what
think I have
basically we're
something
teaching.
to say, right?
Yes.
And I'm not going to apologize. I think I have something to say, and I'm going to say it, and I'm not going to apologize. Like, all of this is about um being bold
Yes.
and going after our dreams. And you're going to run into all kinds of things that you don't know
Yeah.
how to do, which is normal. You've never done this before,
Mhm.
right? Whatever we're talking about, it's new. So yeah, there's going to be things you don't know how to do, and that's where we can go to people who are further along on the journey, and they can help us, right? They can come to you to learn about podcasting. They can come to me and learn about building the business and the systems and the strategies, and all of this can help us get ahead. And then we take those parts that we feel like, oh, I think I could really do that. And then we
Exactly.
implement them and we see what's going to happen. So I love that so much. That's so good. And By the way, for anyone who, you keep saying you love getting these nuggets, I'm the same way and I'm visual. Like if I can
Yes.
see it, then I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, now I've got it, right? So if anybody's like, well, you've kind of mentioned systems, I want to see more of that. If they want to go to gift, GIFT, like I am giving you a
Oh,
gift, dot balancing busy. Oh, okay, hold on, I gotta check. I'm like, is it gift dot balancing busy? Okay, gift dot balancingbusy.com. They can download and see a sneak peek into a few of my systems. So they can just
wow.
see a few of my systems so they can be like, oh, that's what she's talking about. We're talking about checklists and workflows and these different things. If you want to copy a few and look at them, you can totally do that. So just go to
Guys, please
gift.balancingbusy.com.
go to gift or gifts. Sorry. Oh, my
Gift,
gift.
singular,
So gift
GIFT.
balancingbusy.com. I'm going to leave the link below for all of you to go straight from the link and access it. And then that way you can get your freebie from there. And oh my gosh, Leah, can we do this again, please? Because I feel like we have so much to talk about. Like this is, I
I know
know
we can keep going.
we could keep going if we really wanted to. But honestly, I welcome you back. You were absolutely phenomenal. If there's anything that you guys can take away from all of this, please go visit Leah Remillet at her website at balancingbusy.com and to get your gift at gift.balancingbusy.com. And I hope that everyone out there learned something from our episode or grabbed a little nugget, like I said. And again, thank you again for listening. And until next time, for everyone.